everyone, I'm Lynn with Psychic Focus at psychicfocus.blogspot.com, and today's topic is Tartary, the mud flood, and ancient civilizations. And I know I've touched on this a little before, but I wanted to do a more specific reading on this topic, and this is going to be kind of a long one. It's a long question and a long response, so grab you some coffee, something to drink, and have a seat because this is going to be a little while here. So let me get right to it. The question: Tartary is a vast lost empire that took up much of China, Russia, and India. Amazing buildings, pyramids, and other structures belonged to this advanced society that also had flying saucer technology. These structures were largely covered up in a massive mud flood that covered most of the region in the early 1800s. Some think these people moved to the Middle Earth. A lot of major structures in the Tartary region had their foundations were used in the 19th century. There's examples of this even in the U.S. The state capitol, for instance, was built on an existing old granite foundation that was then covered over with a lawn hill. The Tartarians had flying technology. Even in the U.S., there were major newspaper reports with drawings of giant cigar-shaped vessels that were not balloons. Anyway, the following video has a series of colorized videos from Russia taken maybe sometime after 1850s when photography first came in wide use. Shows amazing structures, pyramids, and spherical flying vessels in the background of typical turn-of-the-century cityscapes with captions in Russian. The researcher said he found these images on the dark web searching for Tartaria. Some of these might be early trick photography using paintings in the background of real cityscapes, but there are some, like a procession of elephants going through a large archway with the amazing structures all around that look pretty real. Can you do a read on Tartary and these amazing illustrations to see if they're real, fake, or an accurate artist imagination of what was in Tartary? So there's also a link on the question itself that goes into a video that's much more in depth about where this question came from and what got that line of thought going. So honestly, this was a great timing for this question because I've been drawn to this topic a lot over the past few months, and I have found myself pondering different things ranging from out-of-place artifacts, where did they all come from, photos of amazing buildings that could hardly be built with our current technology, much less centuries ago, how did they come up with it, to visions of these complicated, sophisticated cities, but then they have these dirt mud roads and it's horse and buggy. So just some critical thinking there. Wouldn't you, if you had this technology to build these amazing buildings and structures, pave a road? Why are people still trudging through dirt and mud? Just a lot of things have been pondering over in my mind in regard to this topic and how things that seem out of place got to where they are. So this concept and the topic has made me pause and really focus on how these things exist. Even things such as the World Fair in the 1930s, it looks completely out of place. It is huge. It is mammoth. And even the photos have a lot of oddity to them. The theory is that an older and advanced civilization once lived here. A disaster wiped them out, leaving behind some older structures or parts of older structures. That's why many amazing buildings are buried at least one story below the earth, or the above ground floors don't match the basement levels. You'll see things built upon things that they don't look cohesive. The bricks are different, the colors are different, the windows are different, just a lot of odd things. And you're even going to see in many older Capitol buildings or state house buildings, they have these fancy floors underground, which you wouldn't go to that effort to build something when you're building it by hand and then cover it up with dirt. And you also notice that almost all of them have stairs that go to the main entrance, which I think the main entrance was really a second floor and the first floor was buried. So they have had to retrofit a lot of it. It's just not the logical way to build with limited means and hand tools, because this doesn't make sense, right? If you really apply your logical mind thinking about how these structures look and where they are situated. And there's so much more out there on this topic, so I'll leave you to do your own research. So I digress into the reading here, and I do get that our current timeline did intercept some culture and remnants of different civilizations, but I'd like to know who these people were and when they lived on Earth. I realized in the question that the idea was that this civilization perished in the 1800s, but I see it much earlier than that. I get that something happened around maybe like 1200 versus 1800 that wiped out a huge amount of civilization. I see ships lifting off and leaving, and some people heading for higher lands. It was as if some kind of vibration or trembling was happening all over the earth, and it created this liquefaction, I think that's how you say it, effect of the ground. And the image I get in my mind, it looks like quicksand that had these structures leaning, sinking, or even completely being covered by the earth. It's as if there was this huge impact, huge hit that reverberated the entire planet. Those that survived, they came out of hiding. It reminds me of people emerging from some like apocalypse situation or some kind of a safe house and began to inhabit and restore what was remaining after this event happened. It's more like an exploration and claiming what they could for themselves. Unfortunately, the real masterminds that led the society, they flew off in their ships. So the people trying to rebuild did so with limited knowledge and technology. And that's why the blocks and the bricks and all that aren't always consistent and cohesive within a building. And it's why beautiful artistic buildings are sometimes topped with these very basic upper levels. Sometimes you'll see this very gorgeous, intricate building on the lower levels, and then it just seems haphazardly built above. Well, they used what they knew how to do to repair and fix or expand upon what was already existing. So when I focus on who these ET beings were, they look like smaller Pleiadians. And I get that there may have only been a few hundred here total, but that's all that was needed to teach and create. They brought the technology and they could do the work with greater precision than 1,000 men. And that's why the Pleiadians also have always come through when I focused on them like a parent, because in many ways they nurtured and grew this ancient society. They had an investment in what the humans were doing and creating and the environment that they cultivated. And I feel like there is so much more on this topic, but I want to pause there for now and let you take all that in while I take all of it in as well. And so please feel free to leave a comment, share your observations. If you start looking at the older buildings around your town or where you live, you'll start to see what I mean, how things just don't match and feel always correct. Or you'll have a gorgeous building and then subpar buildings built around it. Just the artisticness, the intricacy, quality, all of it. It is very mismatched, and that I got in my reading was why. And that's really all I have for now. I'm going to pause. Again, I'm Lynn with Psychic Focus at psychicfocus.blogspot.com. Thank you. Bye.